Thing that we're going to do is replace a motor on the Vector. First thing we have to do in this process is use our 17mm socket to loosen the lug in the middle of the wheel. So once I get that lug off the wheel, what I'm going to do is push on the chair and lift, I'm not lifting it, I'm just kind of pushing it. I'm going to slide that block of styrofoam under so that I can actually remove the wheel. Next thing we're going to do is show you how to remove the motor from its mount. You'll notice that we have 3 bolts here, 1 down here, and then there's 1 on the back side. I always try to make it my policy always to remove the bolts that are most difficult first. So in this case, it's going to be this bottom bolt and the bolt on the inside. So on the first bolt on the bottom that I'm going to try to loosen, I'm going to use a 6mm L-shaped Allen wrench. We'll insert the Allen wrench in the bolt and break it loose. Once it's broken loose, it should come out fairly easily. Now for the bolt on the inside. What I want to do is get that 6mm Allen wrench in there. You see I used an extension. I will put my ratchet on there and start. Once I get it broken loose, use my fingers to actually drive this and pull the bolt out. But I have the inside bolt out. We'll pull it out and set it aside. Next we'll work on this bottom bolt. And since we already broke it free earlier with the L shape, we'll go ahead and remove it. The next 3 bolts are these bolts here. It always helps to take a little pressure off of the bolt while you're taking them out by holding the weight of the motor in your other hand. You see I have my arm rested across my leg so that there's not a lot of stress in my arm. Once we get the last bolt out, it'll be a matter of extraction of the motor and release of the cable from its mounting position on the inside. I use my scissors to cut this wiring harness tie to free up the power source to the motor. I'm going to use my scissors to actually depress the end of that and jiggle it and take it away. So once we have the new motor, we're going to place the motor inside and line it up with its mount. I'm going to use 2 bolts that I can quickly finger tighten in place to hold the motor so that I can access the pigtail and plug it back into the power module. If I can hit the hole. And we're going to make sure that the new motor cable is firmly fastened into the power module, and then we will come back and put a snap tie around all these cables once we test the motors. Do is try to get this last bolt in on the inside. As you can see, I have it held on the end of my ratchet Allen wrench. I'm going to stick it in and line it up in the hole. I'm going to try to turn it with my fingers to get it started. Sometimes you have to jiggle the motor a little bit to get the threads lined up. That works good. And then we'll put the ratchet on it. So the last thing we're going to do after we've tightened up all of the bolts is we're going to put the wheel back on the motor shaft. First thing we need to do is we need to find our key and place it in the keyway. That's what keeps the drive shaft from rotating on the inside of the hub. So here is the keyway that needs to line up with the key that we just put in the axle. I'm going to turn it around and place the wheel on the axle. Shake it back and forth a little bit to make sure. We're going to put the washer on the outside, the retaining nut, which is a 13mm nut. Use a 13mm socket. Get it good and tight. Now we're ready to take the block out from under it, set it back down on the ground, and give it a trial run.